start again and hear from Marcia. I was in Sierra Leone in the 1960s. I went there in 66 and left in 73. At that point, I got a job working at the United Methodist Church in Oskaloosa, Iowa. And the ladies there were very interested in doing something. Well, I could recall, having been at Bonn last, that was my last time working with girls, that bandages were in short supply. The girls would get these ulcerous sores, and they didn't think it was good medicine unless they actually hurt. So we would pour straight alcohol on those ulcerous sores, and then with ointment on, and they would bring their old bandages washed to me, and then they would iron them with those irons that you put coals of fire inside of. See you nodding your heads. And they would have them, so they would be clean, right? But they're reusing these bandages over and over. Meanwhile, I'm in Oskaloosa, and I see in Oskaloosa, Iowa, that they have sheets. They're just, maybe they've got a hole in them or something, but they're being given away by these hotels and so on, so free. So the ladies there in Oskaloosa started tearing up the sheets, rolling them into bandages. Some of the ladies remembered how they did this back in the war times, you know, they had bandages. So we filled a barrel, that is the ladies of the United Methodist women back then, and off it went to Africa. I don't even remember how we got it over there at that time. We had to make some connections at other times. So my time there ended, and time went by, and we were still wanting to send some more things to Africa. So we'll fast forward a few years, and we were in Fort Dodge, Iowa, and I was married, so on. And my husband, working with the Gideons, would visit the hotels and then ask if they had sheets. Yes, they did. So again, we were collecting sheets in our church at the, what we call Crossway Church now in Fort Dodge, Iowa. They have a group of ladies who tear the sheets, roll them, and they have a bunch of these to go overseas. Where do we get them? How do we get them over there to Sierra Leone? All right. We're always looking for barrels, you know, the big steel barrels. They tell me that they're useful in Sierra Leone for many things if we send things in that, whereas maybe not so much plastic or whatever else. So anyway, here we had to find those steel barrels with the nice lids that would lock, but could be unlocked from peeking inside and then locked back up again. We found out that if I got one in town and had to wash soybean oil out of it, it really wasn't worth sending to Africa. It had the odor in there. But Blue Bunny ice cream people, they have lots and lots of barrels, thousands of barrels that come with chocolate and strawberries in them for their ice cream. It's the ice cream capital of the world in Mars, Iowa.
It's good ice cream.
Yeah, it is good ice cream. And they would give, at first the barrels were free, you could go there and pick them up. But then that didn't work out so well because there were too many people coming for those barrels and the barrels were just piling up. So they got a contractor. But this was good too because the contractor takes those semi-loads of barrels down to a place near Ottawa, Iowa, and in the Les Hills over there, L-O-A-S-S, Les Hills over there, there are mountains of these barrels. Okay? So now we have a source for the barrels, and the guy will wash them and get, the most recent price was $16 per barrel. It's very manageable, right? But then, how to get them over to Africa. And we used another shipper, and he was very good, but there was something that I sent to either Daphne or Sonia or somebody over in Africa, Daphne being Daphne Older Williams, and Sonia Spencer. These are ladies that we've come to know, and maybe you've met them. But in 2005, we had to learn things that they would like and so on. In fact, we sent in those barrels keyboards and flutes, things like that, music books, things that are more a specific nature that these ladies wanted to receive. Okay? And some parcel was maybe missing, whatever, but anyway, we wanted a reliable source. So that enters Alex. Alex is going to tell us about his cousin Sheku and what Sheku does with the barrels now that we get them when we get them packed up with whatever people want over there, okay?
My name is Alex, and we
Let's take it out.
Marcia we are shipping this barrel. We did about a couple of times through a shipper in Madison, Wisconsin, and she had problem with missing items. So we found a shipper, Sheku Kamara, my last name, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he shipped for us, So what I did was, Marcia gets the bandages wrapped, and first of all, we shipped it through Michael Pierce's organization in Tayama. We go there, he takes a bunch of physicians every year for a couple of weeks to do the donation work with the local people, so they use these bandages. So then we started shipping through the United Methodist Hospital in Freetown by Lou Augustus' eye clinic. So I have a trailer. I go up to Fort Dodge and pick them up, and I bring them to my house, and Sheku comes down there and picks them up. But they had an ultimatum that if we don't have maximum of 5 barrels, they won't come out. So sometimes I have to drive them to Madison, Wisconsin, where he meets me, and then he takes the barrels. And he's a very reliable guy, and he clears them through the water key in Freetown and delivers them to where we want the barrels to go. So this last time I was in Freetown, and he took 4 or 5 barrels. And Sheku had a storage place in Kisi, not too far from the hospital. So Bishop Yambasu made arrangements for a vehicle for me. We picked the barrels and delivered them to Catherine Norman. She is the medical coordinator at the hospital in Kisi. So the doctor that was in charge came down, and the PR guy, and they were so excited to receive those barrels because they could use the bandages both in Freetown and in Tayama. They do some clinic work in Tayama, so that's how the bandages have been going. And Marcia and Dennis have been doing real good work, and I pitch in to go pick up the barrels, and we ship them. So that's the program is still going on, and Marcia is planning for us to send some more barrels of bandages and other stuff like Sunday school, Bible study for the clinic in Tayama, So that's what is going on.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll add a couple things, not much, but thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly. Anyway, I remember one time that a pastor in Tayama had lost his, I believe in the Tayama area, I don't know exactly, but he had lost his Bible. Well, he wanted, an English Bible, he would do translation and all himself, but he needed the Bible. Sure enough, a lady donated a good study Bible, and that went on the top of the barrel, the last. I think you had to put it in, didn't you? Because I was out of town. And so it's amazing what you can do. Now, this is not a semi-load. I appreciate you people up here with the big trucks and the wonderful thing you do, but there's a way to get stuff over there, and especially those special desired items, like the keyboard or the flute or whatever else. And so let us know if you've got something that you just feel God would like to have over there. And sometimes Bible study books, I do send dictionaries. Sometimes, just English. Because English is the language, and so many times other missions won't take stuff because English is not the language that they are being taught in. So that's pretty much what I want to say. Anybody else want to say anything about that? I'm going to piggyback on the book thing because Mamadou has presented about books many times, and you don't send with the same company at all, do you? You send.
No, I just happen to have a relationship with Books for Africa.
Books for Africa, he said.
We send out books. So what I do is we take the responsibility, of course, getting them organized and sent to the warehouse in Books for Africa.
You don't send in barrels, though, do you?
The first time we sent, actually it was hymnals.
Some of our people are new here and don't know, so why don't you just come and take a minute?
He's going to have a
Okay.
session.
He's on the schedule, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want you to steal your own thunder, but just say that you, but you are going to tell us about that.
Yes, but
Okay.
just to answer this real
Okay.
quick.
Okay.
Basically, it's just trying to recycle what could otherwise be throw away something here in our part of the world, and looking for a place where such throwaway thing can become a gold mine all by itself. And then where you have bed sheets that would have been discarded in whatever way, find a place in Africa in Sierra Leone where they are treasured.
Yeah.
There is hardly a young person that grows up in Africa that did not have a saw.
No.
Oh, if I raise my leg here, you look, saws all over.
Yeah.
I wouldn't steal your thunder.
All right. Well, we have, we'll look forward to hearing more about that later. But books that we send are generally just specific for, maybe kids' books or whatever, that a small amount of the things that we send along with the bandages, okay? So the bandages may be half the barrel, maybe the full barrel, but there'll probably be some books and things like that, and Bibles or whatever on top. Okay, any questions?
And also, Marcia, you've been sending, I think they actually appreciated that in Kayama, you've been putting in some saws, hand saws. They use those, the local.
Oh,
Yes, they use those to cut wood.
yes,
And
yes.
that is
uh-huh.
really appreciated.
Hand saws will fit down the side of the barrel, like that.
Yeah.
Tools, one lady was emptying out her basement, her husband had been a carpenter, and the tools went. And, yes. So there's a lot of different things that can be used over there. Yes.
Yeah, and the beauty about selling these drums is that they don't have to weigh them. So you
Exactly.
for any tiny room, if it's a pencil,
Yeah.
you just stock it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by,
It's no
by
weight, that's the
space,
advantage
not
of it.
by weight.
Yeah.
So you can load them way heavy. Okay, you had a question first.
Oh, yeah.
In the year 2000, when we met at Lake Junaluska, we brought Some people brought empty, clean medicine bottles, the little prescription bottles. And as a result of that, I know of one church in Illinois that sent many boxes of the medicine bottles to be used by the clinics. And we always put a message in there, a written message. If you don't want to receive more of these, let us know. And we never had a word that we should not be sending them, but we did quit sending them. Now my question is, to those of you who may know, is there a need for these little medicine bottles in the clinics in Sierra Leone? Nurse Farrell implied when she last spoke to this group that they were being used to put daily portions of baby food for distribution. But my question is this a worthy project or should it be dropped? It has been dropped by the group of which I am speaking, but
Okay.
in general terms,
I don't have the answer, but I'll bet there's somebody here who does. No. Can we throw that question out and see if these empty medicine bottles can still be used? Yes.
We used to collect them in our church, but then I can't remember why, but we were told that not to collect them anymore as well, but I don't know the reasoning.
I would say for weight alone, they don't weigh much. And when we want to send the heaviest stuff, those big tools. I mean, if we have a little medicine bottle and a tool, which would I rather send to Sierra Leone? The heavy tool, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a choice on my part. If I have two things to put in the barrel.
They can actually fold paper to put medicine, you know, rather than.
Well, Mary Louise is telling us that folding paper and putting the medicine in paper is also possible without using plastic. So, we
What
don't
we
have to
could
do
do is
okay.
we could probably talk to Cardinal Norma, Bishop Yambasu's medical coordinator. I'll talk to Bishop Yambasu when he gets here to see if they could use, the hospital could use those bottles for dispensing medication.
We are going to get that answer from Bishop
Yeah.
Yambasu. Thank you, Alex. Okay, any other urgent questions? Yes.
I'm just wondering how detailed your declarations has to be, like you have to tell how many pencils and how many saws, how detailed?
With Sheku, nothing.
Nothing.
We put it in and he gets it to where it's supposed to go, because we're with a person we know. And he knows where he's taking it. And the cost has been about $250. We run it through our church offering, so we get our church helps us in that way, calls it a donation. So that's how we get that.
for each barrel.
For each barrel, 250, it may be more. Whatever Sheku says it is, we pay because
The
it's
maximum
been very
has been
honest with us.
250, and then it goes down to 200, but he's been having a lot of problem at the key, for him to ship his container, but the maximum is 250, but goes down to 200.
So there you are. And one more question from,
Well, it's not really a question, I was just going
Something.
to say, sometimes you have to bear in mind the value of what you are sending as against the amount it's going to cost you for the shipment.
yes, yes, there's a lot of more questions. Do ask us some more about it, because it is a very doable thing. And if we can get some more barrels, Sheku would be very happy. We just have to get them to him.
I better say something.
Okay? All right.
It's interesting to hear what is being said. And when you speak to Bishop Yambasu, he would like to have a check of money, and they would then like to purchase the things that are needed, to let them decide. But it doesn't work that way. People want to give, and they may give medicine containers, little bottles, little containers. When we were practicing at Tayama, we loved them. We put the medicine in those containers. There are many uses for them. To have a saw and a barrel is wonderful. Tools and so on. So that even though ideally people should simply raise money, send it to the conference, let Bishop Yamasu and those in authority and realizing the need, spend it. But it still doesn't work that way. People like to be able to share what is in their possession and to underwrite the transport of it. Now, if you sent just the cash check, how would things get there when they are paid for it this time? So that there are two sides to this question, and the enthusiasm of that Marcia and Alec and all of them, what do we have, I think is so wonderful, because you are sharing not only items that are usable, precious, but you're packing them, you're underwriting the expense of sending them, so that please continue to do projects like this. Now, Roger Reiner's ranges for a 40-foot container, and he will put thousands of books in there. He will put pews for the churches and pulpits and so on. He will put building supplies in that container. But Roger Reiner's has that ministry. Marcia's and Alex and others, Momadou's is just as important. I saw a hand up there.
Yeah, when we set our ovens, we put them in Roger's container, and we set our ovens over. So, because we didn't have any other way to do it.
He's telling them they sent containers when they sent it, before they went the first time. And we had them in the container.
I guess we're just giving you an option. There you are. Thank you. No, that's fine. Anyway.
I just want to say something about Encore. Every year, Kathy and I go down to Encore Sager Brown in Louisiana in January, because we like to be in a warmer place in Minnesota. But many of you probably have been involved in women in your church making school bags, sewing school bags, and one thing we do there is fill the school bags that are made by women across the country and fill them with school supplies. Well, that is kind of ending after many, many years of doing that. They don't want any school bags anymore because they'd rather have the money sent, and they go to places like Sierra Leone or whatever country they're going to receive them, and then they purchase the school supplies there because the shipping cost is so great. So I don't know what we're going to do this year when we're down there, if I'll pack any school bags. Last year we just worked with flood buckets or cleaning buckets because there'd been so many disasters. But the Encore doesn't want any more of those school bags anymore. The women in our church were getting ready to make them have all the material, but now they say no. So it's going to change the way things are being done. And I really enjoyed, having been a teacher, packing those school bags. Last year I didn't get to do that, so I'm hoping I don't know what I'm going to do this year when we go there. but we're going back in January for a couple weeks. And I just know they're changing the way they do things now. And like Lowell says, I prefer packing the school bags and saying a little prayer for the little girl who's gonna get that in some village in Sierra Leone or Liberia or in Southeast Asia. So it warmed my heart to be able to do that, knowing that the recipient would never know who this old man that's putting the things in the school bag, but they're elated to receive something that means so much to them.
I think also, like, saying these saws, I mean, the bishop is never gonna get a saw to a local person in Tayama. And, there are bigger things to think of than that, so that's a very personal, wonderful gift when you can sense it.
It creates a bond between people here and people there, wherever it is. And I think maybe that exists even with the financial contribution, but I'm not sure it has the same effect.
Say, Jim,
Yes.
maybe you need to start packing bags in Minnesota.
That might be the thing.
Illinois.
They do that in Midwest Distribution Center also, but I think they're having to change as well. That's part of UMCOR. So I don't know if school bags will be packed anymore, but some of the other nursing health kits also. We work with all these different kits down in UMCOR, Sager Brown. So we're going back, but we'll see what happens. It might be a different experience this year.
I have a question. It's not directly related to, what is it? 6 years ago when we were here.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Let's take it out.
Oh, please take it. Okay. Thank you. 6 years ago when we were here, we had a couple representing the Operation Classroom. And I remember 2 years ago we were in Indianapolis for workshop, but is there anything happening? Anybody know what has happened to, since Wagner left? I don't see, Wagner has not been able to come. Maybe they have good reason, but what happened to Operation Classroom? Anybody know?
Yes.
A little bit.
Okay.
I'll talk a little about it too.
Come and do that. They just had some of you maybe saw an announcement that came from the Blackboard here just in the last week. And they are working, they just changed their scope a little bit, and they're developing the Tayama Enterprise Academy. And so it'll be kind of like I think it's kind of a trade school in Tayama. So they've just changed their focus, gone away from Kissy Hospital to other things, and they're just kind of in a reorganization situation. So, whoever.
At what level is that school? Is it a post-high school or what?
I'm just assuming, do you know, Anna? I think it's
Vocational.
vocational school, yeah, so it's
Or high
probably
school level?
Yeah.
high school or post-high school, both probably.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any specifics, at least that I have read about that.
I think Mr. Kuhlman is the head of the, what is he called, TEA,
Yeah.
the T.
Mhm.
And there's a new head for the Operation Classroom, which still goes on,
Right,
but they're separated now, I think.
and I haven't seen what the focus of that Operation Classroom, I know has changed their focus a little bit, so I don't know what the new things are, but. Do you want to come, Jay?
I can't say so much about Operation Classroom, but in the Minnesota conference, we have what's called OC Ministries. It used to be part of Operation Classroom, but now they call it OC Ministries because they are involved in many different things other than classroom endeavors. They have crops, they have conservation, it's many different seeds not just classroom. So OC Ministries, and I'll talk about a little bit in my presentation about my trip to Baiwala.
Okay.
And so you'll hear more about that, but they are very active, but not in just Sierra Leone and Liberia, but Haiti and Vietnam, other parts of the world as well, is where OC Ministries is involved. And I'll share a whole lot more about that, but I don't know any more about Operation Classroom than what we got from the Blackboard that we received not very long ago.
The original Operation Classroom is an Indiana conference
Yes.
business. Then Minnesota had their part, and now the Rocky Mountain Conference has Operation Classroom as well. Hope and Les Law, who used to be at Hartford School, sort of head that one up. And I think all of them are involved in education wherever they are.
They even raise avocados in Jamaica, I think. OC Ministries does that
How
type of
about
thing.
that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I could echo what Lowell said about don't ever quit sending the barrels and those kinds of things. And because the shipping has to be of so many different kinds in order to be effective. You know, we send the 40-foot containers out of Millbank, and it takes a long time to load a 40-foot container. And so if you need something there more quickly, I mean, the barrel is a fantastic way to go. Because sometimes that container sits and takes almost 2 years to, by the time we have time from our regular daily lives to work in packing them. Sometimes it's one of those situations where I've heard this at my house more than once. That said, I think this probably should be the last one now. You know, I just don't think we've got time, or we're just not getting this done. Or he should be blushing over there if he wasn't so suntan. You'd see it. But he many times, and then all of a sudden he's on the phone and he orders another shipping container. It's been the funniest thing. So I'm sure the last 3 or 4 were not really intentional until the last minute, and then you get in the spirit of it and you just can't help but do another one. So
What's the cost of sending a shipping container?
you know, it really varies. What was it, about $9,000 to ship
Yeah,
it?
this last time it was cheaper.
Yeah, we don't
And
know why.
I think it's because there's more.
Should say that from October to December, the things we put in the barrels in October will get there by December. That's really good, you know.
Yeah, they live up before Christmas.
And 4 times a year, if we had things, he would send.
Oh, the shipping cost, this last time was about $9,000 for the container. I'm not sure what you guys paid for your solar oven. And then you have to pay for the clearing costs at the key, and that usually runs $1,200 to $1,500. So it kind of depends on how needy the people are at the key, I think. I don't understand how their formulas work, but, and then we've been buying our containers from K&K containers in Elk Point, and they run about, they've gotten cheaper too. They're down to about $4,500 now. But for a while, we had to pay almost $6,000 for the container.
New? Are they new?
The last 2 that we bought are new.
For $4,500?
Yeah,
40 foot?
40 foot, yeah.
High cube.
These are the high cube. Pardon?
Is that delivered to you?
Yeah.
45?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what, so that when you send it to Africa, it's yours and it stays there?
Yeah. Yeah, we've given 2 of them to the conference, and we sold one to it was a conglomeration of churches, Chazal, it was Christian Health Association of Sierra Leone. They bought one, and I have felt that, you know, we could insulate them and use them for an eye clinic up country. but I haven't been able to get people over there to catch the idea. So, but that was, you know, a lot of these containers are reused for dwellings. And, quite a few for
Absolutely.
restaurants.
Just send a set of torches right along with it. Tell them to cut out the windows and the doors. And
Yeah.
they'd be in business and it'd be cheap,
Yeah.
really, compared to, you know?
Yeah.
And a kind of earthquake.
Yeah, they're earthquake proof too.
Be safe too.
Does anybody else have some questions or comments about shipping or?
We need them in West Michigan, man. We need them here.
And it's always wonderful when you get there because you have lots of help on both of them. That's a great thing, so I think we've got a few more pictures in what we talk about later today too, so. Well, I'm thinking that we're just a little bit ahead of time and that doesn't hurt a thing here, but we could stop for a break and I know that Janet's in the kitchen with some goodies for you, so do that.
Is that right? Like I said,